Hi guys, welcome back to the Mina Does Art Stuff YouTube channel. My name is Mina and on this channel we do art stuff. So you'll see it here that I've laid out a bunch of my watercolour tubes, and I was thinking last night actually about this palette. So I showed this in my most recent art haul. It's a Van Gogh print on this metal tin, and inside it I have 40 half pans. And they're all like got little magnets on them, so they're magnetized into the tin, and it's kind of great. And I have this artist like palette, so it's kind of like plastic coated paper. It's like a tear off palette. It's not great for the environment to use these and throw them away, but I inherited this from my mother-in-law, so I have it, so I'm planning on using it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a sheet down to fit in here into the tin to use it as a mixing palette in the lid of the tin for this palette. Sorry, words. And I was just trying to think what kind of paints I would want to put in here. And so last night I was thinking about creating a specialty palette with almost entirely granulating paints. And so I was looking through my collection of watercolour paints and my tubes and stuff, and I realised I had almost exactly 40 tubes of granulating watercolours. I was like, that's perfect, because this can become a granulating palette. And so I can either use it on its own as like a purely granulating set, or I can use it as a supplementary palette with one of my other watercolour palettes. Because a lot of these are quite specialty colours that I won't necessarily want to use in like an everyday palette maybe, but I might want some of those colours every now and again. And the good thing about this is it's really small. It doesn't take up a lot of space on my desk, and it's quite compact and easy to like put away or to take with me, or whatever. So what I was thinking was I would have whatever my usual palette is, or whatever palette I'm planning on using that day, but then I can also have my granulating palette out, and if I decide I want to use a granulating colour, I can just dip into whichever colour I want and use it in conjunction with my other watercolours, or I can use it on its own as well, hence why I'll be making a little mixing palette into the lid as well. So all the colours here are granulating as far as I'm aware, other than this yellow. This yellow is Aureolin by Holbein. It's a hue, so it's actually a light fast version. The original Aureolin, why is that such a hard word to say? Aureolin, there we go, I'm pronouncing it wrong, that's why. Aureolin pigment is PY40, which is a very fugitive colour, and it turns grey over time from what I understand, but the Holbein one is a light fast alternative hue. So I'm going to be putting that in the palette as well, even though it's not granulating, because it's surprisingly hard to find a granulating yellow pigment. So just in case I did ever decide I want to use this as a standalone palette, I want to have a yellow. It's just personal preference. But otherwise everything else here is a granulating colour. I will leave links down below to where you can to Jackson's, where you can purchase all these different brands, and those are affiliate links, so if you choose to use one, I highly appreciate it, because it really helps out this channel. All it means is that I get a small commission on anything that you purchase through those links. It doesn't affect the price that you pay, and if it's your first time placing an order with Jackson's, you also get a 10% discount, which is great. A couple of these paints brands you can't get from Jackson's, so I'll have other links for those ones. But other than that, I will leave a list of all the paints, all the different colours and brands that I've used in the description box below as well. So I won't be linking each individual colour, but I'll just link to each brand page on Jackson's. So for like example, the Daniel Smith paints, Winsor & Newton paints, White Knight paints, whatever, rather than each individual colour. But I will list out all the colours as well, just that way you can pick and choose what you're interested in. Hopefully that made sense. And yeah, so I'm going to crack on with filling these pans. Actually, what I'm going to do first off camera, I'm going to go ahead and label each of these pans with a Sharpie with a permanent pen, just so that they are well labeled, and if I ever need to refill them in the future or I want to rearrange the pans for whatever reason, they're all labeled correctly. Then we're going to come back and I will film me filling them up. I'd love a good palette pour, it's just so fun. And then we'll do some swatching, and I'm just going to play around. I'm not going to do more formal swatches like I've done in the past. I'm just going to play around and just do some splashy colours just to try and show off some of that granulation and see what these colours look like. And yeah, so hopefully you'll enjoy this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos like this, and yeah, so let's get to it.
Okay, so really quickly, just so you know what's going on here, I realized after I'd set everything up that I actually already had some half pans filled with some of the colors that I was planning on putting into this palette. So I just went and grabbed those and swapped them out for the empty pans in the palette before I started filling everything up. So I think now I'm going to leave you to some nice relaxing music whilst I do the rest of the palette pour, and then I'll be back with a voiceover to talk you through my color choices and pigment information during the swatching phase. Okay, hope you all enjoyed that. So now I'm just going to run through all the colours with you. So first up we have Daniel Smith's Buff Titanium, that's PW6:1. Then we have the one non-granulating colour on the palette, that's Holbein's Aureolin, PY154, PY175 and PY150. Then we have Daniel Smith's Yellow Ochre, that's PY43. Next up we have Daniel Smith's Aussie Red Gold, that's PY83, PR101 and PV19. This one isn't a traditional granulating colour, but it has some very interesting granulating type texture to it. Then we have Lunar Earth, PBR11, also by Daniel Smith. Next up we have Cause Venetian Red, that's PR101. followed by Lunar Red Rock by Daniel Smith, also PR 101. And then we have Schmincke's Mahogany Brown PBR 33. Then we have Caput Mortum by Sennelier. That's also PR 101. Followed by one of Schmincke's beautiful super granulating colours. This one is Galaxy Pink. It's PV16 and PBR 33. Then we have Permanent Mauve coming up next by Winsor & Newton. That's PV16. Then we have Cobalt Violet, which is a Rembrandt colour. This is PV14. This one's a bit harder to re-wet, and it's a softer colour, so it's not as high tinting, but it is a beautiful granulating colour. Then we have Potter's Pink by Winsor & Newton. That's PR233. Followed by Daniel Smith's Rose of Ultramarine. That's PB29 and PV19. And then lastly on this row we have Purpurite by Daniel Smith, and they claim that to be a genuine pigment, so there's no pigment information included. Then, sorry, my camera ran out there. So we had Royal Purple next by Paul Rubens, which is PV19 and PV29. Then Moonglow, which is PB29, PR177 and PG18 by Daniel Smith. And then Midnight Purple by Paul Rubens, PO73, PB29 and PG18. And then unfortunately my camera cut off the next two colours, but it was Lavender by Van Gogh, which is PB29, PV15 and PW6. And then Cerulean Blue by Daniel Smith, PB35. We'll see that later. Then the first swatch you see here at the top of the page is Cobalt Azure Blue by White Knights, PB36. Then Cobalt Blue by Winsor & Newton, PB28. And then Cobalt Blue Dark, PB72 by De La Rowney. And then French Ultramarine, PB29 by Schmincke. And then next you'll see is Mayan Blue Genuine by Daniel Smith, which is at the end of that very first row. It's a very sort of greenish blue, but it's a really beautiful colour. Then we have Lunar Blue, also by Daniel Smith. That's PBK11 and PB15. Followed by Cobalt Teal by Core. That's PG50. That's the one that's being painted now. Then we have another Schmincke super granulating colour. This is the Glacier Green. And this is a mix of PG50 and PR233, which is the Potter's Pink. Then we have Cobalt Turquoise by Daniel Smith, PB36. Followed by another super granulating colour, Forest Blue. That's PB36 and PBK11 by Schmincke. Next up, we have Cascade Green by Daniel Smith. That's PBR7 and PB15. Followed by Cobalt Green by Lucas. That's PG50. Then we have Undersea Green by Daniel Smith, PB29, PO48 and PY150. Followed by Forest Brown, PG26, PBR7 and PY43, also by Schmincke. Then we have Dusk Yellow, PBK11 and PY128 by Rembrandt. Then the last few colours, we have Burnt Umber by Rembrandt, PBR7. Followed by Sodalite by Daniel Smith, which they also claim is a genuine pigment. And then we have Black Tourmaline, also by Daniel Smith. Again, no pigment information as they claim it to be a genuine. But it's a very like highly granulating black pigment. Then we have Mars Black by Winsor & Newton, which is PBK11. Again, very granulating, much more pigmented, darker black. And then the final colour is M. Graham's Neutral Tint, which is PV19 and PG7. And this one has some really beautiful sort of texture to it as well, which is really lovely. So here we have the final swatches. And the book that I've been using to swatch these in is a watercolor sketchbook I got from AliExpress. I didn't know what the paper was in it. It claimed to have cotton, and when I got it, there was some watermarks in the book that showed that this was actually a Fabriano 5 watercolor paper. So it's 50% cotton. It works beautifully. I really enjoy it, and there'll definitely be a link to this in the description box below in case you are interested in giving it a go yourself. It's fairly affordable and really good quality. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos, and I will see you guys again in another video very, very soon. All right, take care, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.